My name is Daniel. I'm 41 years old, and 3 months ago, my stepdaughter told me something that shattered 10 years of my life in a single sentence. Don't come to my wedding. No explanation. No coincidental. Just a flat, cold statement, like I was a stranger who had somehow dialed the wrong number. At that moment, I thought the worst pain I'd ever feel was happening right then, in that kitchen, with a cup of coffee shaking in my hand. I was wrong, because just a few hours later, I made a decision that would destroy my marriage, split a family in two, and turn a wedding celebration into something nobody in that family will ever forget. And the scariest part? Even now, I'm not sure if I was the villain, or the only one who saw the truth. But I'll let you decide, because this story has lies hidden in plain sight, quiet betrayals, and a twist that even I didn't see coming until the very last moment. So if you've ever loved someone who wasn't yours by blood, if you've ever tried to be a parent to a child who never asked for you, or if you've ever wondered how far a person can be pushed before they finally break, stay with me, because what happened next still keeps me awake at night. I met my wife, Karen, when I was 31. She had a 6-year-old daughter named Lily. On our first date, she showed me a photo of Lily eating ice cream, smiling with 2 missing front teeth. Karen said, "She's my world. If someone can't love her, they can't love me." I remember thinking, good, I want a family. I never had kids of my own. My father left when I was 4. My mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. So the idea of building a real family, it felt like finally fixing something broken inside me. When Karen and I married 2 years later, Lily called me Daniel at first. Not Dad, just Daniel. And I told myself, that's okay. Trust takes time. I learned how to braid her hair for school. I sat through her dance recitals, even when the music made my ears bleed. I stayed up late helping with science projects, glue sticking to my fingers. When she got sick at 8 years old, I slept in a chair beside her hospital bed. When she cried because kids at school teased her, I was the one who told her, their words don't define you. You do. Slowly, she started calling me Dad. Not always, not in front of everyone, but sometimes when she was half asleep or scared or happy. And every time she said it, my chest felt like it might burst. I truly believed we were becoming a real family. But there was someone else in the background. Lily's biological father. His name was Ryan. Karen described him as irresponsible, immature, not ready for fatherhood. He disappeared when Lily was a baby. No child support. No birthday calls. No visits. For years, he was just a ghost story. A name mentioned once in a while. A shadow. And I was fine with that, because in my mind, I had already taken his place. But when Lily turned 16, Ryan came back, out of nowhere. One day, Karen got a message request on Facebook. A profile picture of a man holding a beer, sunglasses on, smile too wide. Hey, the message said, it's been a long time. I'd like to see my daughter. I remember Karen reading it out loud, her voice trembling. And Lily? Lily froze, like someone had unplugged her from reality. For weeks after that, she barely spoke to me, and I didn't understand why. They started meeting, at first just once a month, then every weekend. Ryan would pick her up in a shiny car I couldn't afford. He bought her expensive sneakers, took her to restaurants I'd never been to, and every time she came home, she seemed a little farther away from me. I told myself, she deserves to know her real father. But quietly, in the darkest corner of my mind, a thought kept whispering. What if I was never really her father at all? When Lily turned 18, she moved out for college. She hugged me goodbye, said, thanks for everything, Daniel. Not Dad, Daniel. And I pretended not to notice. Fast forward to this year. Lily is 23 now. She finished college. She has a fiancé named Tyler. Nice guy, polite, clean haircut, calls me sir. One evening, Karen came home smiling. She's engaged, she said. She wants a big wedding. Next spring. I was genuinely happy. I even started thinking about walking her down the aisle, about giving a speech, about the father-daughter dance. I knew I wasn't her biological father, but in my heart, I believed I had earned that place. Then came the invitation planning. One night, Lily came over. She sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through guest lists on her phone. Karen leaned over her shoulder, excited, and I stood by the counter, waiting to be included. Finally, I asked gently, "So, have you thought about who's walking you down the aisle?" Lily didn't look up. She said, "Yeah, Ryan will." The words hit me like ice water. I forced a smile. "Oh," I said, "that's great. I'm happy for you." But inside, something cracked. Later that evening, Karen hugged me and whispered, "I know it hurts, but don't take it personally. She's just trying to reconnect with him." I nodded, but a quiet question started forming in my mind. If I wasn't walking her down the aisle, then what place did I really have in this family? A week later, Lily came again. This time, she looked nervous. We sat in the living room. Karen went to make tea, and Lily turned to me and said, "Daniel, I need to talk to you about the wedding." Her hands are shaking slightly. I smiled, trying to be supportive. "Of course. What's up?" She took a breath, and then she said the sentence that changed everything. "I think it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding." For a moment, I honestly thought I misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" She looked me straight in the eyes. "I don't want you there. I want my real family there. My real dad. His relatives. It'll just be awkward if you come." I felt like the room tilted. "Lily, I've been in your life since you were 6 years old." She looked away. "I know, and I appreciate it, but you're not my father. I don't want to explain you to people. I just want a clean day. No complications. No complications." 10 years of bedtime stories. School pickups. Hospital chairs. Tears. Laughter. Christmas mornings. Reduced to a complication. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at my hands, trying to understand how a heart can break without making a sound. Finally, I said quietly, "Okay." And Lily exhaled in relief, like a weight had been lifted from her. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and left. Just like that. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark living room, replaying every moment of the past 10 years. Every dad, every hug, every promise I made to myself that I would never abandon her. And now, I was being uninvited from her life with a polite smile. But what Lily didn't know was that her words would set off a chain of events she never expected. Because by morning, I had made a decision that would affect not only me, not only Lily, but Karen, Ryan, and the entire wedding itself. And this is where everything starts to fall apart. The morning after Lily told me not to come to her wedding, I made breakfast like nothing happened. Eggs, toast, coffee. Karen sat at the table, scrolling on her phone, smiling at wedding photos Lily had sent in the family group chat. I watched her for a long moment. Then I said, "Lily doesn't want me at the wedding." Karen froze. Her fingers stopped moving. Her smile disappeared as if someone switched it off. "What?" she whispered. I repeated it, slowly, calmly, like reading a weather report. She said it would be awkward if I came. She wants only her real family there. Karen put her phone down. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, she said, "She didn't mean it like that." I laughed quietly. How else is there to mean it? Karen rubbed her temples. "She's just stressed. Weddings are stressful. She'll calm down. I'll talk to her." I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to believe that. So I nodded. But deep down, something told me this was bigger than wedding stress. That evening, Karen called Lily on speaker. I sat beside her on the couch, pretending to read a book, but really listening to every word. "Sweetheart," Karen said softly, "Daniel told me what you said about the wedding." There was a pause. Then Lily's voice came through the phone, cold and steady. "Yes, I meant it." Karen's eyes widened. "Lily, he raised you. He loves you. How can you not want him there?" Another pause. And then Lily said something that made my blood run cold. "Because Dad asked me not to invite him." Silence. The kind of silence that sucks the air out of a room. Karen blinked. "Ryan said that?" "Yes. He said it would be weird for him if Daniel was there. He said it's finally his chance to be my real father in front of everyone. And I don't want to hurt him." I closed my book. Very carefully. After the call ended, Karen sat staring at the wall. "I'll call Ryan," she said. "I'll fix this." But when she tried, Ryan didn't answer. He didn't answer the next day either. Or the next. Over the following weeks, wedding planning continued. And I became invisible. They discussed venues at the dinner table as if I wasn't sitting there. They talked about catering, flowers, guest lists. Lily texted Karen updates. Not me. Not once. I wasn't invited to tastings. Not asked for opinions. Not included in conversations. I was a ghost in my own home. One night, I finally said something. Karen, what exactly is my role in this wedding? She looked at me, startled. Well, you'll attend. Sit with me. I smiled bitterly. Am I invited? She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. I started sleeping on the couch. Not because we fought, but because lying next to her felt like lying next to someone who had already chosen a side. Then, 2 weeks later, something happened that changed everything. I came home early from work. The house was quiet. I walked into the kitchen and saw Karen's phone on the counter, buzzing with notifications. I wasn't trying to spy, but the screen lit up, and I saw a message preview. From Ryan. It said, "Remember our agreement. If Daniel shows up, I'm walking out with Lily. Don't mess this up." My heart started pounding. My hands moved before my brain could stop them. I picked up the phone, opened the message thread, and what I saw there made my knees weak. There were dozens of messages between Karen and Ryan. Old ones, going back months. Discussions about the wedding, about Lily, about money, and then a message from Karen, written weeks before Lily uninvited me. It said, "I'll make sure Daniel understands his place. Lily deserves her real father that day." I read it 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. I put the phone down slowly, like it was a bomb, and walked into the bathroom, closed the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. The man looking back at me looked older, smaller, like someone who had been living in a lie for years. That night, Karen came home late. She kissed me on the cheek. "Everything okay?" she asked. I smiled. Perfect, because in that moment, I made my decision. If they wanted a wedding without me, then they would get a wedding without me. But not in the way they expected. Over the next few days, I started making quiet phone calls. I spoke to the venue, to the caterer, to the decorator. I asked questions Karen didn't know I was asking. And what I discovered was that almost everything for the wedding was in my name. The venue deposit, the catering contract, the sound system, even the photographer. Because months earlier, Karen had said, "Can you handle the payments? It's easier for taxes." And I, like a fool in love, agreed. Now, sitting at my desk late at night, staring at those contracts, I realized something powerful. I wasn't just a complication. I was the foundation holding their perfect day together. And they had no idea what I was about to do. But before I tell you what happened next, there's something else you need to know. Something I didn't understand yet. Something about Ryan's return. Something about Karen's sudden change. Something that would turn this from a wedding drama into a family betrayal far deeper than I ever imagined. I didn't cancel anything right away. That's important. I didn't slam doors, didn't scream, didn't send dramatic texts. I waited, because after reading those messages between Karen and Ryan, I needed to know one thing. Was this just about a wedding? Or had my entire marriage been built on something rotten? A few days later, I told Karen I had to work late. Instead, I parked my car 2 blocks from a cafe Lily and Ryan often visited. I know how this sounds. Creepy, desperate, but I needed answers. For my sanity. An hour later, I saw them. Lily and Ryan sitting outside, laughing. And Karen was there too, sitting with them, smiling, like a family I was no longer part of. I watched as Ryan handed Lily a small box. She opened it. Her eyes widened. She hugged him. Later, I would learn it was a necklace, with a pendant that said Dad. On the way home, I didn't turn on the radio. I just drove in silence, because a new thought had started forming. Maybe this wasn't about love. Maybe this was about something else entirely. That night, Karen fell asleep quickly. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, and a memory surfaced. Something I had ignored for years. When Karen and I first got serious, I once asked her, "Why did you and Ryan really break up?" She answered quickly, "He cheated, left us, didn't want responsibility." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But now, after everything I'd seen, I wondered if that story had another side. So the next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I searched for Ryan online. Not just Facebook, public records, old court documents, anything. And after hours of digging, I found something. A court file from 17 years ago. A custody hearing. Karen versus Ryan. I clicked through scanned pages. And there it was. A line that made my stomach drop. Petitioner admits relocation without informing respondent of child's whereabouts for over 2 years. Karen had taken Lily and moved cities without telling Ryan where they were. For 2 years. No contact, no address, no phone number. Then, when he finally found them, she filed for full custody, painting him as absent, irresponsible, unstable. My head started spinning. I wasn't reading gossip. This was legal record. Real. Concrete. I leaned back in my chair, and suddenly, everything looked different. Ryan hadn't just returned. He had finally found his daughter after years of being shut out. And Karen? Karen had been the one controlling the narrative. That evening, I asked her directly, "Why didn't you tell me about the custody case?" She froze mid-step. "What custody case?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her. And slowly, her face changed, like a mask slipping. She sighed. "Daniel, you wouldn't understand. Try me." She sat down, told me the story. Her version. Ryan wasn't abusive. He wasn't violent. He was unreliable, immature, always chasing parties, jobs, friends. When Lily was a baby, Karen got an opportunity to move for work. Ryan didn't want to go. They fought. He said he wasn't ready to be a father. So Karen left. She thought, if he really cares, he'll find us. He didn't. Not for years. By the time he showed up again, she said quietly, "Lily already had you. Stepdaughter. So you were okay with me raising her until he came back." Karen's voice cracked. I didn't want to lose her. I still don't. Now, here's the part that broke something inside me. I asked, "Karen, do you love me?" She didn't answer immediately. She looked down and said, "Of course I do." But her eyes told a different story. That night, I went back to the contracts. Venue, catering, music, photographer. I had the power to cancel everything with a single email. And they would have nothing. No wedding, no celebration, no big happy moment. Just silence. But I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I wanted clarity. So I decided to talk to Lily. One last honest conversation. No accusations. No drama. Just truth. I texted her. "Can we meet? Just you and me. No mom. No Ryan. I need 5 minutes." She agreed. We met at a park. Same park where I taught her to ride a bike years ago. She sat on a bench. I stood in front of her and said, "Lily, did you ever love me as a father?" She swallowed and said, "I loved you. I still do. But I have a real dad, and he wants to be there for me now. I have to choose him. You wouldn't understand." I nodded slowly. "I understand more than you think." I handed her an envelope. Inside were copies of the contracts. My name, my signature. I said, "Without me, there is no wedding. I paid for everything. I organized everything. I'm the reason this day exists." Her eyes widened. "Are you threatening me?" I shook my head. "No, I'm giving you a choice. If you want me out of your life, fine. But you don't get to erase me and still stand on what I built." She stared at the papers, shaking, and then she whispered, "You're cruel." I smiled sadly. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally refusing to disappear. That night, Lily called Karen, screaming, crying. Karen tried to call me. I didn't answer, because my decision was finally complete. By morning, I had written the emails. But before I tell you what I canceled, before I tell you what happened the moment Lily realized her perfect day was gone, there's one more thing. One last twist. Something I discovered only after I hit send. Something that made me question whether I was a hero or a monster. At 6:47 a.m., I hit send. One email to the venue, one to the catering company, one to the photographer, one to the DJ. Short, simple. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I am canceling the event scheduled for May 14th. Please confirm cancellation and refund according to contract terms. My finger hovered for a second before each click. Not because I doubted my decision, but because I knew there was no going back. By 8:15 a.m., my phone exploded. Karen called first. I let it ring. Then Lily. I let it ring. Then Karen again. Again. Finally, I answered. "What did you do?" Karen's voice was sharp. Panicked. "I canceled the wedding," I said calmly. Silence. Then Lily's voice broke through on three-way call. "You ruined my life," she screamed. "You selfish, bitter, pathetic." "Lily," I interrupted softly, You told me not to come. I'm simply respecting your wish. She started crying. Real crying. Not anger. Fear. My deposits, the invitations, everyone's booked flights. Tyler's parents. You should talk to your real dad, I said. He wanted this wedding so badly. And I hung up. I want to work like it was a normal day. But inside, I felt like I was walking through smoke. When I came home, Karen was waiting. Red eyes. Shaking hands. You destroyed everything, she whispered. No, I said. I removed myself. Exactly like you all wanted. She stared at me. And then she said something I will never forget. You don't understand. If this wedding doesn't happen, we're all screwed. I blinked. What? She sat down at the kitchen table, took a deep breath, and told me the truth. Ryan was never just trying to reconnect. Ryan was broke, deep in debt, failed business, loans he couldn't pay back. When he re-entered Lily's life, it wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. He knew Lily's fiancé, Tyler, came from a wealthy family. He knew that marrying Lily into that family meant connections, opportunities, access. The wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was his entry ticket back into stability. But why does that matter to you? I asked. Karen looked away. Because he promised he'd help me too. My stomach dropped. What did you just say? She spoke quietly. Ryan said if I supported him rebuilding his relationship with Lily, he'd include me. Financially. I'm drowning in credit card debt, Daniel. I didn't know how to tell you. Suddenly, everything made horrifying sense. The secret meetings, the messages, the pressure on Lily, the urgency. It wasn't about love. It was about survival. I stood up, walked to the window, and laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. 10 years of my life. 10 years of trying to build a family. And behind my back, deals were being made like I was furniture. That night, Lily came to the house. She didn't knock. She stormed in, her eyes swollen from crying. Tyler was behind her, confused, uncomfortable. She pointed at me. Fix it. Right now. Call them. Undo everything. I looked at Tyler. Do you know why your wedding was so important to Ryan? I asked. He frowned. What? Karen jumped in quickly. Daniel, stop. But Lily's face had already changed. Mom, she said slowly. What is he talking about? Karen stayed silent. Ryan hadn't told Lily the truth, and Karen never planned to. Lily turned to me. Daniel, what did he mean? So I told her. Everything. Ryan's debt. The plan. The promises. Every piece. Every ugly detail. When I finished, Lily sat down hard on the couch. Tyler stepped away from her slightly, like he was seeing her world crumble in real time. I didn't know, she whispered. Karen started crying. I was trying to save us, she said. I thought once the wedding happened, everything would settle. Silence. Then Lily stood up and said something I never expected. Where is he? Ryan didn't answer her calls. Not once. Not after the wedding collapse. Not after everything came out. Lily looked at me, and for the first time in years, her voice was soft. Daniel, I'm sorry. And in that moment, I realized the story wasn't over. Because a canceled wedding was only the beginning. What came next would redefine every relationship in this family. Ryan vanished. No calls, no texts, no explanations. The moment the wedding collapsed, he disappeared like smoke, and Lily was left holding the ashes. For days, the house was silent. Karen stayed in the bedroom, curtains closed, phone always in her hand, waiting for a message that never came. Lily came over on the third day. She looked smaller, younger, like the 6-year-old who once held my hand crossing the street. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she once told me not to come to her wedding. Now she couldn't meet my eyes. I ruined everything, she whispered. I poured her tea. No, I said. You learned something painful. There's a difference. She finally looked up. Why didn't you tell me sooner? About the contracts, about Mom and Ryan, about any of it? I smiled sadly. Because I thought you saw me as your father, not as a negotiator in someone else's deal. Her eyes filled, and then she did something she hadn't done in years. She reached across the table and held my hand. I was wrong, she said. I chose someone who didn't deserve me, and I pushed away the one person who never left. We sat like that for a long time. No speeches, no dramatic music, just the sound of a kettle cooling. Later that day, Tyler called. He canceled the engagement. Quietly, politely, firmly. His family didn't want to be tied to a mess of secrets and financial games. Lily didn't beg him to stay. She knew it was over. That night, Karen came into the living room. She sat beside me and said, "I am sorry." I looked at her, not with anger, not with love, but with clarity. "Karen," I said, "you didn't just lie to me. You built a life on half-truths and hoped I'd never notice." She cried. I was scared. I didn't want to lose Lily. I didn't want to be alone. I nodded. And in trying not to lose her, you lost me. A week later, I moved out. No jitting, no lawyers, just quiet division of a life that no longer fit. Karen didn't fight it. She knew. Before I left, Lily came to see me. She hugged me tight, like she was afraid I'd disappear. "Are you leaving forever?" she asked. I smiled. "No, I'm just leaving the marriage. Not you." She nodded and whispered, "Dad, not Daniel. Not out of habit, but choice. I rent a small apartment now. Simple, clean, quiet. On my fridge, there's a photo. Lily at 8 years old, missing front teeth, ice cream on her nose, smiling like the world was safe. Sometimes I think about the wedding that never happened. The emails, the panic, the collapse, and I realize something strange. Canceling that wedding didn't destroy a family. It revealed the truth of one. Karen is paying off her debts slowly. Lily is in therapy, finding herself again. Ryan? Nobody's heard from him since. And me? I am rebuilding. Not as a stepfather, not as a husband, but as a man who finally chose his own worth. So if you're listening to this story and wondering, was I wrong to cancel everything? Maybe, maybe not. But one thing is certain. Sometimes, the only way to save yourself is to be willing to lose everything else.